To brief us about the final two sessions of the evening, I would once again like to invite on stage Mr. Shrikant Khandekar on stage.
Okay, we are entering the last stretch of the day, the last two panels. But you know, when we talk about digital video, what we call digital video, if you look at them, one could argue that they are television commercials masquerading as digital video, because the kind of budget that's put behind it is justified by the fact that it's run on television. And true digital video, there are very few of them. Actually, I requested a firm to measure you can count them on if there are few dozen in the entire year, which are actually ads made which are run only online and not on TV at all. So how far are we from the time when video ads will be made for online alone? And if such ads are in fact made, what will the marketer, what kind of money will the marketer be willing to put behind it? How will the media agency look at the efficiency of the spend? That's the next session where we look at. It's called online only. It's to look at when this will happen, if at all it will happen. And then the last session of the day is about something. It's like they say, it's the gorilla in the room, which we are all getting the views that we want. We're all growing rapidly. I think the gentleman from EY said that even if you don't do anything, you'll keep on growing. But the fact still remains, how do you make the money? Okay. So the last session of the day will have a very large and powerful panel discussing whether consumers are willing to pay for content. That I think is a big issue, and that will be the last session of the day. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next session is only online. Digital video ads today consist mostly of TV commercials that are run at length online. When will online-only videos become mainstream? I would now like to invite Ms. Anita Nair, CEO of Havas Media Group, India and South Asia, Mr. Chandrasekhar Radhakrishnan, Head of Communication and E-Commerce, Nestle India, Mr. Prashant Chalapalli, Chief Integration Officer, Leo Burnett, and this session will be moderated by Ms. Ashwini, Executive Editor of AFAX.
और हर ऑडियंस आपकी तरफ एक अगलाते हुए कॉमेडियन की सबसे बड़ी स्ट्रेंथ होती है सस्पेंस। और हर ऑडियंस आपकी तरफ पेशेंट नहीं होती। मैं अटकता हूं, वो खिसक लेते हैं। घर वाले कहते थे जल्दी एक जोक सुना, अब कहते हैं जोक छोड़ जल्दी सुना। तो मैं भी ढीठ हूं, जोक सुनाए बगैर जाऊंगा नहीं। तो मैंने दोस्तों को समझाया, टाइम लगता है यार बफरिंग में। लैंडलॉर्ड को समझाया, तो मांगे थे 8 थे क्या? 8 वेरी फनी। कि आजकल जोक्स भी किश्तों में आते हैं। पुलिस वाला कहता है कि कानून के हाथ से लंबा तो मेरा। दुनिया को समझाया,
अरे जोक को खत्म करो, पेन से छोड़ दिया।
सब्र का फल मीठा होता है। सुबह सुबह पार्क गया, वहां खुद ही सोच लाफ्टर कब लाफ्टर नहीं। थैंक गॉड फॉर कॉफी। इसने मुझे लगाए रखा और आपको जगाए रखा. My name is Rishi. Let's get started.
Nestle, good food, good life.
Okay. Now, the fact that we have an entire session on this subject of when will the online-only ad become mainstream itself goes to show that the online-only ad is a rare species. And the way I figure this entire thing is that the online-only ad today has a very strange supporting role. It salvages the situation when television perhaps can't handle the length or the content of the ad in question, right? So we'll go to Chandru because this ad is an Nescafe ad. So before I start with targeted questions for each one of you, I'd like you to take 5 minutes and tell me what the online-only ad means to you from your vantage point, because it's a very great panel. You know, we've got 3 people from 3 very different universes. We've got a marketer, we've got someone who represents the media buying industry, and we've got an agency guy with a strong digital agency background. So what's the online-only ad to you, Chandru?
So in cricket,
Right.
there is a famous line, say, don't take the eyes off your ball.
Right.
Yeah. Whether you call it online videos, content, or advertising, I think the most critical thing for any media or information which is produced for the sake of marketing is to attract, persuade, engage, and ultimately move brand metrics and sales.
Sure.
I think for me the most critical point will always be whether that piece of content that you develop is able to move brand metrics and sales.
Right.
So what is this new language of content? So there can be, so to just make a differentiation between advertising and content, advertising always had this purpose of interrupting. So you made it on the brand message, you wanted to grab attention during a break before the actual content started, and that was purposefully made as advertising. But a content can actually attract, because of digital and social media, can actually attract the target audience on its own merits. So if it is an editorial partnership, or if it is a recipe video which actually has a consumer passion area or a consumer interest area and people are going to reach out for it, then that could be content or online video.
Okay.
So except for that differentiation, which has to be understood when this in today's new reality, but except for that differentiation, both of them, whether you call it content advertising online, videos, have the only metric of moving brand and business metrics.
Okay. Okay. Anita, we'll move to you. What's your understanding of the online-only ad? What does it mean to you? And you know, for that matter, even mainstream. The topic is when will it go mainstream? So what do you make of this?
See, I think online and offline is in our minds.
Okay.
Yeah. When you look at the consumers, right? If somebody who's viewing it digitally, to him that is the medium in which he is viewing it.
Okay.
Somebody who is watching an ad on television is
Right.
the medium where you're viewing it. I think we at agencies, creatives, marketers kind of try and make it very complex because we need to understand our consumer more. If you are asking me that when will online videos start, I think they should start today. You know, because we've not seen enough of them in the past. Because we've had a lot of conversation between what is important today is data and content, and we know why data is important and we know why content is important. Yeah? How you deal with that content, and storytelling is very important. You need to just look at your audiences and see whom are you rendering that content to.
Okay.
So for coming from media, it's actually, it doesn't matter to me, it's agnostic. You know, it's which screen the person or the consumer is watching it on, and what is it that how are you able to engage that consumer? Because gone are the days when, you know, brands are only talking and consumers are only listening. Gone are the days when brands try to engage with the consumers as well. Today, the consumers are the one who are asking, you know, I will choose what I want to watch. It's as simple as that. So it really depends on the audience that you're talking to and on what is that audience is watching. And how do you need to tailor your story creatively to that audience?
Okay. I do have a reaction to that, but before that, quickly, Prashant, what's your opening remark on the topic?
I agree with both the marketer and the media perspective, because I think both are important. That you need to have metrics that you need to drive towards. Two things I'd look at from an online video. Traditional advertising, the punchline comes in the last 10 seconds. Online drop-off rates happen in the first 5 to 6 seconds. So you can't wait for the hook to come in at the end. The second thing I'd look at is the context of consumption. We know there's going to be an ad break on television, so you can choose to sit and watch the ads, or you can go make some chai for yourself, whatever. However, online, all I'm doing is consuming content. I'm not watching TV. It's not appointment viewing. So any piece of video which merges seamlessly with all the other content that I'm watching is something which naturally will be viewed. The minute it stands out like, oh, it's branded, chances are that you'd either skip it, unless it becomes so big that there is peer pressure starts acting on you, saying, hey, you haven't seen that video, what's wrong with you? Watch that video. So I think if you look at the formats in which online videos are being created, not by brands, it could be your bottle flip challenge or your cats and dogs. There's a certain way they are shot, and if the brand content, the brand video online can sort of not be too different in its presentation, it sort of seamlessly goes into my consumption behavior.
Okay, no, that is very interesting. So you've actually given us insight into how an agency approaches an online-only film and vis-a-vis a film that's going to go on television at some point.
No, I'm not saying the agencies approach this. I'm saying I wish more agencies approach this. I don't think they're doing it that way yet. So this is a scenario where I hope will happen, not yet happening.
Okay. We'll stay with you, Prashant. I specifically want to bring up a campaign you've worked very closely on, the Durex campaign, the one that ran during the cricket season, not too long back. There were, I think, 3 or 4 films. About 8 films, right? Oh, wonderful. And each one took a cricketing term, and turned it around. So my takeaway, great campaign, my takeaway from that was that the content was too scandalous for television, and hence it was an online-only campaign. So online-only has a very specific role to play over here. So can we go beyond this, that okay, scandal is not the only time we turn to an online-only film. It has to have a role beyond that as well.
To tell you the truth, the films were scandalous even for YouTube. The first film that we released got banned by YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. So the thing is this, media platforms have this thing when it comes to sexual conversations. You can't mention sex casually unless it's in a reproductive framework. We learned this. I mean, we actually got a mail saying this is the reason why your video has been banned. You cannot talk about sex. The films were never visualized as online because it's too scandalous for TV. We just didn't have a budget for TV. And this campaign was anyway supposed to be primarily. If you look at Durex, they hardly do television commercials. Usually you'll see an international ad just being released. So this entire campaign this is what I call context. We had 2 choices. We could either take on cricket, because the insight was when IPL or the T20 happens, we realized that sexual activity goes on in India. So we could either take it's true. I mean, the boys and the girls are watching cricket. Research showed that condom sales were falling. So the brief to us was how do we sort of arrest this decline and try and see if we can. So we said, let's not take on cricket. You don't take on cricket and Bollywood in India. So can we use cricket? And we realized all these cricketing terms are sexual in nature. They're not sexist, but they're sexual.
Of course.
So we said, can we build a campaign around it and redefine the dictionary of cricketing terms? And if you see, all films have been shot on the same format. The camera is a television set, and the action is happening in front of the television set. All the 8 films were shot like that, and we shot all of them in about 2 days. So it was always meant to be an online campaign, but even that got banned after a point of time.
It got banned.
The first one at least.
Okay. Anita, we'll come to you now. I want to know, more out of curiosity than anything else, when you discuss the media mix, as it were, does the online-only ad even come up? Or it's just an incidental thing that, okay, something goes online first and it stays there and never becomes a TVC?
No, I think
does
it's
it come up?
the brand objective and the brand requirement, honestly. When we look at, doing a media strategy for a brand, we don't look at television alone, print alone, or whatever. I think we can't at this, in today's day and age. And like I said, online, offline is a differentiation in our minds.
Yes,
it has got nothing to do with the consumers. So when we look at it, we look at the objective, and when we set that, and then we define as to what is the, percentage that probably needs to go behind a particular medium, which has a role to play.
Okay.
So if there's a discussion about, should online only videos happen, or should television ads be the ones which should go online, or should ads be separately created for online, because it's a different medium, it's consumed differently. So there's also a question about let's do 5 seconders only, because on online people only see 5 seconders, so which means the brand has to, get the message right just within those 5 seconds.
Correct.
Or there are ads like, Nescafe, or ads like Maggie, when Maggie came back to say we miss you. I mean, where you did long format and they got as many views. So the question again, I'm coming back to the thing, it's how you tell the story. And today, from a consumer's perspective, really there is no differentiation between what I'm watching. I've stopped watching television. There are youngsters today who don't watch television. Everything is on the little device that they have in their hands. So it's completely something out of context for the consumers, which is whom we are trying to connect with, which is whom the brands are trying to connect with. So I think it's extremely important really to understand the requirement, and I think creative agencies do a brilliant job when they create these online videos, and there is a certain thought process behind it. There is certainly a thought process behind it. They also do 5 seconds very well. Because that's the requirement. So where are you placing the ad online, where you know that it's skippable, and if you've not set your message in the first 5 seconds, you've missed the bus. Or you're doing storytelling, which is 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and people are happy to watch.
Now,
if I can just add the media weightage part that question.
Exactly.
So we were supposed to do 3 big campaigns for Durex last year, but this campaign received so much response in the first few days that the entire budget for the year was put on behind this campaign. So the flip side of it is we didn't do any other work for Durex for the rest of the year.
That would have not got allowed on television in any case. So, so I'm just talking about content.
No, I'm talking purely from an online budget perspective, because Durex was never going to do any television campaigns through the year. These other 2 campaigns are supposed to be purely online. But all the money was suddenly diverted to this one campaign because this was working. And we extended it by 2 more months because it was supposed to finish by the T20 World Cup, but then it went on through IPL for 2 more months. So we didn't have any budgets left after that.
Correct. And luckily no other plan, because it's not a very big advertiser like you pointed out earlier on television. But what if it was? Then again, how do you justify doing an online only campaign? Then you'll say may as well make the same thing. Like Shrikant said earlier, justifying putting it on TV. Okay, we've spent so much making the ad.
See,
so it worked. No, please.
There's another way to look at it.
Yes.
There is so much that you can learn from TV. For actually creating an online video. Since inception, the television advertising was always based on making it likable and warm, because you'll have to grab attention, you'll have to make people see, stop, watch, and take a message. What has happened lately in terms of online and digital videos is also you're trying to make people to click. And the other word called engagement. So, if you go back to the basics of trying to make people feel, that's what TV always did to you, which is about likability, warmth, and actually communicating the message very clearly, I think you'll do a lot of good for online videos. Online videos will also start very clearly trying to be a way in which it's going to affect your brand metrics and sales. Because that's the only measurement that you had when you started off with TV. So why would the metrics change? Why would our thought process change? Except that there is a big opportunity for you to possibly engage the audience and understand much more through the digital and social medium. And you can actually make people search and come to an interest area, and brand can be a part of it. So in my view, TV has a lot to teach for how online videos need to be created.
I agree, because one of the things which and I've run 2 digital agencies, so I'm sure a lot of digital agency heads will kill me for saying this, but I think one of the big questions about online videos is craft, right? There is a craft which a mainline agency has, because they've been doing this for so many decades now.
Okay.
The digital industry in India is hardly even, it hasn't even entered its teens. We are 8 years, 9 years old. So you really can't expect that kind of talent to be sitting in digital agencies to craft the kind of narratives that, say, a big mainline agency would produce. I'm not saying that there's never been done, but I'm saying this is generally the rule.
Right.
And therefore, the second part is credibility and authenticity. When you look at AIB, TVF, all these guys who are doing so well today, there is a certain authenticity because people, when they're watching videos online, want it to be real. They want it to connect to them. You know that you can take a little creative license. It's like watching a Rajnikant movie even today. Sub license chalta hai usko to beat up 50 people in one punch.
Okay.
That's television for you, right? So I can take my creative liberties, exaggerated expressions, product window, big logo and all that. Online, I want it to be as real as my conversations with my friends.
Okay.
And I think there is a certain breed of people who get that. And that's why you see so many of them doing so well. And probably most of them don't belong to the advertising industry. And this is now collaborations are starting between clients directly briefing them, agencies going to them. And that's a good sign because there's a lot to learn, as Chandru said, from mainline agencies for digital agencies as well as from independent outfits like TVF and AIB.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the skill set to be handling the online video creatives or production, whatever, is very different from the skill set which resides in traditional agencies or, full service agencies or whatever you may call them. So that skill set certainly is different.
Right.
But I'm saying the way the audiences consume and what audience consumes what, on which medium is obviously, that is something that we need to, as brands and even agencies like us, keep in mind to say, where is it that this brand ad needs to go? And I think online we would rather stop saying that they are ads. I think we say more they are stories, which...
just video.
It's video. Video is a story,
Yeah.
So that's the way we look at it, and you see a lot of engagement there. Where is the consumption today, right? We're talking about millennials. We're talking about people who are from 20 to 35 today. And how do they consume? They are very different animals, I mean, gone are the days when we would just put an ad on television, feel nice about it, and understand that the audience is consuming that. But today it's a very different world. Having said that, in a country like India, we will never be able to backstage the role that television plays in the lives of the people, giving its reach, giving its efficiency, giving whatever. But I think then when you are looking at consuming stories or creatives on television or online, they are different. I mean, you can't just put you would rather not put a 30-seconder that you ran on television, on digital. You would rather do the long format that you shot, on digital, which gives you the whole story.
Strangely, about 9 years back, we always used to say, putting your TVC on YouTube is not digital strategy. But that's exactly what's happening 8 years, 9 years later. So I think it sort of comes back to a full circle sometimes. But the other thing which the other problem with digital video, apart from the director, producer, the cast, there is very little difference today in terms of the number of people who work on a digital video from a production crew perspective.
Okay.
I still have to have 60 people on set. Why? Because there are union rules. So my costs are going to be going up.
Exactly.
So somewhere the production house will start compromising on other things. So the quality will never be the same. The costs have to be lower because you genuinely can't go and say, I need 80 lakhs to shoot one digital video.
Right.
In 80 lakhs, most clients will say, give me 100.
Right.
Yeah,
By the end of it, you're saying you may as well put this on TV.
No, I'm saying
as it stands
something
or
has
shorter
to
edit.
change from a production scenario perspective. Because, because I can't shoot a digital video on iPhone just because it's digital. I'll still need to have at least a decent camera to shoot it on. And that's going to cost me money.
Right.
So where do I compromise? The director takes a cut in his fee. The producers will say, let me lower the margin. You will not get the kind of actors you want in front of the camera.
Correct.
Your costumes, your sets, your props all take. Unless you happen to own all of this, which doesn't usually happen.
Okay, that is interesting. Yeah.
See, I think there are two different discussions. One is, what are the fundamental principles for an online video? Is it different from that of TV? I don't think so, because both of them have to ultimately affect business. But there is another discussion which is interesting, which is skills, capabilities and costs. And I think because of the way people consume the videos online, there is a big possibility for you to have an entirely different kind of a production setup in order to do online videos. Also, the capabilities may not actually rest with only the mainline agencies, so there could be actually different agency client models which may emerge in order to make those online videos. But having said that, these are two different discussions. One, the fundamental principles should not be distorted. The moment you start distorting the fundamental principles of why this ad is getting created or why that content is getting created, then people start saying this is for likes, shares, engagement, not actually affecting the metrics. For me, it's very important I sell noodles and coffee. Not as important I get the likes and views. So it's extremely important, as Ashwini famously quoted, that I don't want to run an entertainment industry. We don't do entertainment business. So one part of principles should be very fundamental to marketing and drive the metrics, whereas the other part of skills, capabilities and production, which is a very fine point you're making, can be very different from big mainline agencies and big production houses, and this can be done in much more low scale and much more interesting ways.
Okay. Now, seeing as how everybody on this panel subscribes to a similar platform agnostic philosophy, I'll flip the topic around and ask you again. Need the online-only film go mainstream at all?
See, I think this whole point is actually missing the point.
Okay.
The point should be about how good the creative quality and the message quality should be, because that's what gives you return on brand building investment, and not platforms. So this comparison of platforms between YouTube and Facebook and Twitter's is actually missing the point.
Okay.
Because if your creative quality is extraordinary and your message is what you intended to say,
right,
and it's been done in interesting and exciting ways, I think the content is going to be consumed wherever it is.
Okay.
And for some platforms you need to adapt. Like in Facebook, you may not be able to run the same thing that you have run on YouTube. But that is an executional customization that you're actually doing to that platform. That's it. And some platforms you may use the same big idea and come across it very differently. But what matters most is creative quality and not the platforms.
Okay. What about you?
Those are fundamentals of brand advertising.
Yeah,
those are basics. I mean,
yeah.
you cannot compromise on the creative quality or the message that is going out, But it's just that how do you consume that creative, or how do you consume that message is what to my mind is important. So I'm by no means am I saying that you create a different ad for, to go digital and a different ad on television. That will completely beat the purpose, because the message has to be, the same across mediums that you go, and that's fundamental to a brand. And it's very, very important, because why are brands advertising? If it doesn't move the needle, then there's no point. You can get your likes and they'll give word of mouth and it can go viral, but finally if it doesn't move the needle. So the metrics has to be defined, as you rightfully said, that the metrics has to be defined in terms of what am I doing this ad for, or this brand story for? Is it only to get likes? And if that is your objective, great. But if it has to move the needle, which it should be moving, because that's fundamental to all marketing purposes, then it needs to work like that.
Right.
Let's take the example of an automobile brand.
Right.
Okay, you have a TVC for an automobile brand. Most of them look the same. Nice shots of the car,
Right.
and one interior shot, one headlight shot, and stuff like that. So basically, in a commercial for a car brand, you're trying to say this is how the car looks, and what I can do with that in the online space is create 10 different videos, each highlighting a specific feature.
A feature. Okay.
Yeah, the tonality could still be the same, the treatment could still be the same,
Right.
but I have the luxury of running 10 shorter format, more focused commercials.
Right.
And when you get media to start targeting,
Right.
the availability of data, where there are certain people for whom interior comfort is more important.
Right.
There are for certain people for whom family
They can-
fitting in is more important. Certain people, the looks are more important.
Yeah.
Start targeting those videos for each specific
And
mindset.
Prashant, not run this on TV?
Yeah, don't run it on TV.
Okay, great.
Because the minute you run it on TV, the problem is TV is expensive, right?
Right.
See, there is an entry barrier on TV.
Yeah.
Putting up a video on Facebook or any social platform doesn't cost money. Where it costs money is to promote it. For me to put up a video on TV, was पहले पैसा दो, उसके बाद video जाएगा.
Okay.
So, and then I can decide I have 15 videos going up on Facebook.
Right.
Whichever performs better, I'll put more money behind it.
Right.
Yeah, on TV, it's going to be a little more difficult to do it. If you have a huge budget.
Right.
See, just because it's a 10-seconder doesn't mean that a 10-second film on TV costs you less
Right.
than a 10-second edit of a 30-second TVC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
And online, anyways, the media is cheaper.
Great,
So we can
great.
do more
I
there.
think we're completely out of time. It's signaling. So on that note, we should ask our audience that will the online-only video go mainstream in the next 12 months? In the next 24 months? Okay, see, so few green placards came up when I added a year to the mix.
It's actually gone already. Last year, Digitas LBA produced a film online for Nivea, which the client was so happy with, they put it on TV. Yeah, it's happened already. So, yeah.
So the stand-up comedian which you saw, which was produced 2.5 years back, was first run on digital and then went on TV.
How long was it online only?
It was just for a month. But that's because of reach and frequency and media considerations that she was talking about.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.